Devo thought for this evening. Called Rick today and just said humility. Humility, title of the Devo tonight. And when you're as techno-savvy as I am, when you need a definition, you just hit your Siri button, and she'll define for you humility. If you don't know what that is, you just hit your button on your iPhone, and she'll define what humility is. So humility, a disposition to be humble, a lack of false pride. And then the definition of humble, low in station or quality, marked by meekness or modesty, not arrogant or prideful. You know, when I think about that, in both of those definitions, pride, either a false pride or a prideful disposition, it was mentioned in both of those definitions. And when I think of a good example of that in the Bible, I can't help but to think of Luke chapter 16, verses 16 through 21. We might recall that it says a certain rich man went out and sowed and just had an amazing harvest. An amazing harvest. And I guess he wasn't rich enough because the harvest couldn't fit into his barns. So what did he say to himself? He said, well, hey, I'll just tear down these barns and I'll build me bigger barns. And what am I going to do with those barns? I'm going to put that harvest in there. And then what did he say to himself? He said, then, paraphrasing, he said, then, man, we'll just take it easy. We'll have plenty. We'll have peace. We'll have plenty for a long rest of my life. What did the Lord say to him? What did he say before that? He said, you fool, right? You fool. Don't you not know that tonight your life will be required of you? You fool. And to me, when I read that, it's not so much that building bigger barns was a bad thing, or even having a good harvest, or not even necessarily being a rich man. What was it? It was his lack of God in that whole parable. It was his lack of awareness of his God. So I know whenever I get prideful, and that's probably fairly frequently, I need something to kind of ground me. Let's turn to Isaiah chapter 40. We'll read a couple of excerpts from this chapter. This chapter is at the beginning of it. It's when Isaiah prophesies about John the Baptist as the one crying in the wilderness. But we'll read two parts of it, 12 through 15 and then 21 through 26. If we're prideful, let's read this. Isaiah chapter 40, starting in verse 12. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, or the breadth, or with the breadth of his hand marked off the heavens? Who has held the dust of the earth in a basket, or weighed the mountains on the scales and the hills in a balance? Who can fathom the Spirit of the Lord, or instruct the Lord as his counselor? Whom did the Lord consult to enlighten him? And who taught him the right way? Who was it that taught him knowledge, or showed him the path of understanding? Surely the nations are like a drop in a bucket. They are regarded as dust on the scales. He weighs the islands as though they were fine dust. I was sitting back in the library, and the printer back there had some dust on it, and I just kind of ran my finger across it. And that's how what? That's how God regards not just us, but the nations, right? The islands, what did it say, are as fine dust on the scales? Let's continue reading 21 through 26. Do you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning? Have you not understood since the earth was founded? He sits enthroned above the circle of the earth, and its people are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. He brings princes to naught. He reduces the rulers of this world to nothing. No sooner are they planted, no sooner are they sown, no sooner do they take root in the ground, than he blows on them and they wither, and a whirlwind sweeps them away like chaff. To whom will you compare me? Or who is my equal? Says the Holy One. Who is his equal? You know, just a closing thought here. Would we rather be the weakest of the weak and have our God? Or would we, through the pride of life, feel invincible but not have God? Would we rather be the weakest of the weak but yet have our God? Or through the pride of life feel invincible and have nothing? Psalms 84:10 will be the closing verse. Better one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. Humility is our disposition. Humbleness is our disposition before our God. Before our God. Your church family is here tonight. If you have any needs, any concerns, any thoughts, any prayers, if you need anything, we are here to aid and assist you. If you'll come as we stand and we'll sing.